Okay. Well, hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. It's a great evening. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. I need to go ahead and say that before we even get to going in this thing too much because we're always thankful for something. I'm thankful just to be here for another episode of Teague's Take. I also need to give a big shout out to the Bama Standard for them allowing us to simulcast on their show. We're great friends. We believe in Alabama football and bringing great content to all of you. So thank you to Justin, Marvin Constant, Bo Scarborough, all the guys that make big things happen over there at the Bama Standard. We're live here today. So make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you haven't done already in both places, right? Hit the bells because content is coming out all of the time. All right. So today, I want to be able to talk to you guys about a few things. One, we got to talk about the Iron Bowl, of course. What are you really thankful for? I'm going to be interested to hear our guest talk about what he is thankful for, and then Jalen Milroe. Can we talk about him a little bit as well? So, and how do we get into the playoffs? So, what I want to do at this point now, this gentleman, I want to go ahead and give my first thanks to someone, right? Because we meet a lot of people who come across our lives for whatever reason. And, you know, in the world of social media and everything else, you meet all kind of people. I like when you meet people who are genuine and who are out to help people, who make things happen, who are hard workers. It doesn't mean you have to be an Alabama fan, but I know he is an Alabama fan as well. This gentleman gave me an opportunity, and I have not said this to him, so I want him to hear this from me first because Corey LeBounty is on with us. He's the host of the Final Drive on 105 on WNSP 105.5 out of Mobile, and they spread out across South Alabama. But here's the thing I want to say to you, Corey, and why this is extra special for me to be with you on Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Central Time on the Final Drive, collaborating with them to talk about Alabama football and NFL stuff. Right. So me and JT were out and about just trying to figure out how do we get in the radio world? How do we take Teague's Take somewhere? How do we just expand ourselves a little bit? And I had actually reached out to quite a few different radio stations across the state of Alabama and others. And a lot of it was just kind of, let's work on it. Let's try to figure it out, this kind of thing. And when Corey and I talked, he was like, man, let's go ahead and do this thing. It wasn't even a hesitation. It was kind of like, what days? How do you feel about it? And I just want to say, man, I really appreciate that because you just kind of went sight unseen, and gave me the opportunity to come on to the Final Drive. So thank you for being who you are, and welcome to Teague's Take.
It's a pleasure to join you on Teague's Take. I mean, I go back and I reminisce, and there's no way, being the diehard, lifelong Alabama fan that I am, that I could say I don't want 1-3 to be a part of WNSP 105.5 and the show that I have every afternoon, because I remember going back to the 1992 National Championship game, where I was, what I was doing, being with my dad, my brother, the excitement that surrounded your national championship team. And I'm thankful for you giving me the opportunity to be a part of your show this evening, and for you to join me on my show. It's a tremendous honor. I'm very humbled and can't thank you enough. A few years ago, had a chance to go down to Death Valley and meet you in Death Valley in the stands. And we were sitting next to Tua Tagovailoa's family there in the student section. And, it's one of those, I asked you, hey, can I get a pic with you? You didn't hesitate then either. You were like, sure, you're diehard, you're in Death Valley, why not? And had a big smile on face. And Alabama, of course, wound up beating LSU that night in Death Valley and keeping them quiet. But I can't thank you enough for the opportunity, George.
No, man, I appreciate it. And it's funny how you just run into people and meet people like that. It's kind of, I see Kelly in the chat as well. And we kind of met the same way. We kind of conversed on Twitter, and lo and behold, we're actually sitting right next to each other at a game in Bama. It's just, you're supposed to meet the right people at the right time. And so thank you for that. So I want to speak to you about a couple of things. The first topic I want to talk to you is about this rivalry game, the Iron Bowl. There's a lot of stuff. You asked me today about any particular moments that I actually had that I liked, and I talked about being able to play in the first Iron Bowl non-Birmingham. Bad memories about that because we lost. It was amazing. So I'm not really want to hit on that part right now. I want to see how you rank these rivalries across the country, because we're all kind of segregated. I already started getting tweets about it saying the Miami Florida State game is the biggest rivalry, or is it the Michigan Ohio State? I haven't been to the Army Navy one, but I am intrigued by that. So they really kind of list about 12 different ones. And I wanted to see if you could think of the first. What would you rank? I don't know if you can get to 5, but what would you say your top 5 would be in rivalry games?
You definitely have to go with the Iron Bowl first. And why do I go with the Iron Bowl first? Because there are no professional sports team here in the state of Alabama. And because there are no professional teams here in the state of Alabama, you can look to our neighbors in Tennessee and Georgia, and you can look to Florida. There's plenty of professional teams there to root for. But here in our state, it's you're born Alabama or you're born Auburn. And I know there's a lot of other universities and schools that can't take anything away from them, but not of the rivalry that Alabama and Auburn are. And I know plenty of people who name their dogs, their cats after famous players, after famous coaches. And to me, the Iron Bowl and everything that it entails and everything that has gone along with it, the spectacular finishes that people are always going to remember, whether it is Van Tiffin, whether it's Bowl Over the Top, or whether it's the 4 overtime game, or whether
just don't say that other one. Just don't say that other one.
I won't say the bad one. It gives us nightmares, but it's just the rivalry to where on the field you see the fans, they love to stir it up more so than the players, because one of your former teammates, Sherman Williams, he had his Iron Bowl gala here in Mobile, and there were former Iron Bowl players from both teams that really are willing to help one another at any moment, at any time. And I just think because this state does not have a professional organization, you have to root for Alabama or Auburn, and all eyes when businesses start shutting down because 2:30 or 6 o'clock comes around, it means business. So yes, that's going to be my number one overall rivalry for sure, the Iron Bowl. Okay. Secondly, I'm going to go with Ohio State and Michigan. And there's plenty of things that go on in both of those states, but you look at the tradition again of those coaches, of those winners. I mean, Michigan just won its 1,000th overall game. And that's the most that we've seen. And there's a reason they have the fan base that they do. But I like the Ohio State, Michigan. And look at this Saturday, what it's going to mean in the college football rankings. It means a lot in regards to that rivalry. The third rivalry I love is the pageantry of the Army-Navy game. I'm like you, George. I want to go and see it for myself, witness it for myself. But the pageantry of these servicemen and servicewomen who serve our countries, coming underneath one umbrella to hear and play both the school's alma mater at the end. I think that the pageantry of that is second to none in regards to what it means to our country. And I would love to go and be a part of that. The fourth rivalry, it's going to be two guys that are going to be joining us in the SEC, Oklahoma and Texas. I like that rivalry, Oklahoma and Texas, the Red River or the shootout, whatever you want to call it, Red River rivalry, however you want to break it down. I love that matchup as well. And then number 5, I'm going to go a little bit still in the SEC, Georgia and Auburn. I think that one is one that's underrated for sure. And then you look at Florida State and Miami and all the historically great players that come out of that game as well. So those are going to be my top 6 from a rivalry standpoint, as this is rivalry week.
Well, you know what, and you bring up a lot there. And you bring up a great point for all the naysayers and haters about the Iron Bowl, with it being 2 college teams with no pro sports around. I don't think people really understand what that is and how you're grown and born into that. That, you know, there's, when you say house divided, it brings a whole different kind of piece. Now, I have not been to the Big House or whatever it is to watch the Michigan Ohio State game. I do want to experience that as well, just because, you know, the Sunken Bowl of Michigan or whatever. I think it would be fun to go see. I can't figure out a way on how I want to do it because it's cold up there, man. I don't know.
Too cold this time of year. I mean, if it's not freezing cold, it's raining. So you're going to have there's no such thing as a sunshiny day for that Ohio State-Michigan game. The sun can be out, but it's still going to be 32 degrees or it's going to be snowing. And, you know, I like the backdrop of it, but as far as it being number 1 overall, I can't see.
Yeah. Well, you know, I'll have to admit that growing up, because you got to remember, and I have to remind people that I did not grow up in Alabama. I was a military brat, so I moved around. That's my second thanks that I want to give is to my pops and my family for giving me the lifestyle that I was able to grow up with. 6 older brothers, 2 older sisters. Being in the military, it wasn't easy for them to do and provide for me and give me the lifestyle, you know, of being on the base to learn what it means to serve and all that. So hats off to all the veterans as well, because I'm thankful for all that they do as well. Now, so what I want to say is, because of that, not growing up there, I used to love to watch the Miami, Florida State game just when I was young. It was just something about him coming out in the middle field and spiking that big old spear in the middle of the field, like, oh man, it's on, you know, this kind of thing is exciting. They used to battle. There was some, you know, some really close games. And when you look at it, so that series, the Miami Florida State series, it's 35-32. Miami is pretty close. Alabama, Auburn, we're up 49-37 in our rivalry. We need to keep it that way. Let's go ahead and 50. This week, the Texas OU game, OU is not too bad, 63-51 in favor of Texas. Michigan leads their series 60-51. And the one that kind of shocked me the most, that I thought might have been a bigger rivalry, just because I live in Texas, we're out here, would be Texas A&M. But Texas leads that series 76-37. I don't think that's a rivalry at all. But Texas A&M absolutely hates Texas. And I think they're mad because they're getting ready to come over into the SEC. And I think that's why they got rid of Jimbo, because they don't want to lose to Texas anymore. And they're trying to figure out what to do. Right? So, interesting piece, man. I do appreciate that. I'm with you. The Iron Bowl, it just hands down, I don't think it compares, just because of the in-state rivalry with no other distractions. It is what it is for the whole year. We're not going to talk about Cowboys in Houston. We're not going to talk about anything else. You know, that. So, I want to get into this because it's probably going to take us a minute to get through this. The rankings right? So the rankings come back out. We're still sitting at 8. Everybody's scratching their head. You can find a bazillion articles. You can find all kind of, I don't know, opinions, I guess, on how does Alabama get in. A lot of people make it sound simple. Hey, if you just win out, if Alabama just wins out, we're in. Do you feel that way? Do you think it's just you win the SEC, we're in?
My heart is saying sure, that's the way it's going to be, but my head says no. It's one of those situations to where I'm really concerned and worried because you look at number one, Georgia can't take anything away from them. To be the man, I love wrestling. So to be the man, you have to beat the man. Ric Flair says, right? And right now, Georgia is the man. And no matter how you look at it, whether it's in the SEC championship game, if they do have that one loss to Alabama, do you leave a two-time defending national champion out with just one loss to one of the nation's surging teams and the nation's best team since week number 3, or really 4, because the next week against South Florida, Alabama didn't play well. So since week 4 up until week 13, if Alabama runs the table, do you hold that against Georgia and push them out? Of course, you have Ohio State and Michigan playing one another this weekend, and that's going to be a one-loss team too. And you don't have Harbaugh, so you can make those excuses that this rivalry or this game, if Harbaugh was on the sidelines, X, Y, and Z would have happened or could have happened if you're a Michigan fan and you lose. If you're Ohio State, you're sitting in the driver's seat feeling very confident in your position right now. You look in front of you, one of those two are going to drop no matter how you look at it. And Washington, they've been playing with fire the last couple of weeks. They're 11-0. And you look at where they're standing right now, playing in their Pac-12 championship, they're going to get an opportunity to probably see Oregon again. And on a neutral field, I feel that Oregon is better than Washington on a neutral field. That game was barely won by Washington, but the home field advantage played a tremendous factor in that game. So right now, you look at Florida State, the committee said, look, your quarterback just had a gruesome injury. We're going to hold that against you. We're going to drop you one, even though you're undefeated. And the game with Florida, both teams playing with backup quarterbacks, I personally think Florida can beat Florida State down in the swamp. So, yes, Shakedown Saturday is upon us. A lot of great things and great football to be played. Alabama, yes, they do control their own destiny from the standpoint of these other teams in front of them have to play one another. And if Alabama is able to dispose of Auburn, if they're able to defeat Georgia, then you're sitting there, and it goes back to what Greg McElroy says. It is the eye test versus the resume. And Alabama passes both the eye test and the resume test, regardless of if it's a struggle win against Auburn. If it's a struggle win against Georgia, you still will have beaten the number 1 ranked team in the country, George. And you look at Alabama and where the college football playoff rankings are. Ole Miss currently is 12th. LSU is currently 14th. Tennessee currently 21st. There's no other school in front of them that can hold that type of resume besides Georgia. And if Georgia loses to Alabama, do you leave them out? So there are still a lot of things that have to happen within these next couple of weeks for Alabama to put itself in a great situation to play in the college football playoffs. But my heart says they can do it. My head says the human element part of this, it's the Crimson Tide fatigue at times, but it's also if there's a one-loss team. My preseason poll, George, was Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, and Michigan. All 4 is what I had in my college football playoff to begin the year. Those were the 4 I chose. Do I still think it can happen? Maybe 3 out of the 4, yes, and I'm hoping that one of those definitely could be Alabama.
So Kelly is saying that CFB, the committee, is not living up to their own metrics. Mm-hmm. All right. So when you're looking at this, I guess they have their set of guidelines that they're supposed to watch and how they do or whatever. The main thing I guess that everybody needs to remember is that they can do what the heck they want, right? Like it, if they're showing favoritism to somebody or whatnot. I know it's built of coaches and non-coaches and ads and all this other kind of stuff. But do you made some very good points, some very great points. But so do you think about what we're saying, right? And I'm aligned with you. What do you do with an Alabama? If Alabama wins, what do you do with Alabama and Georgia? Is Georgia in or out? But the people would also say, what do you do with a number 2 and a number 3 in the Pac-12? Do both of them stay in the top 4 or not? Is it weighed the same as the SEC, or do you think the committee will say, well, the SEC is stronger, or do you worry about, hey, you got 2 versus 3 versus 1 versus, I don't know what will be next week? Are we still at, I don't know, will we make it up to, will we jump Texas? Will we, do we get to 6 or 5?
I think we can hit 5. I think we can hit 5, George. I really think it's a possibility that we can hit 5 because you're looking at Georgia, they're going to roll through Georgia Tech. That one's not even going to be an issue. So they're going to stay where they need to be. Ohio State and or Michigan has to drop at least 2 spots. So you look at keeping 2 undefeateds in Georgia, Ohio State, or Michigan. Washington, I don't think they're going to lose in their rivalry game against Washington State. So they'll stay undefeated. FSU, I think this is where FSU kind of falters and falls. And I don't want that to be the case. Oregon, with their 1 loss, having been to Washington, there's no way that you can leapfrog Washington in that situation until you play that Pac-12 championship. So that's why I think that the committee is going to have its hands full, and it's happened to Alabama before, where you just had to sit, wait patiently after winning the SEC championship. You wait to see how that Pac-12 championship is going to shake itself out. You wait to see what Michigan is going to do in their Big 12, or Ohio State is going to do in their Big 10 championship game. So there's just so many factors going into the championship game versus the rivalry game that are going to hold and be a huge factor.
So do you think it's so if, like I said, there's so many scenarios. So what do we really need to happen? Because if Oregon beats Washington, is that problematic though? For
absolutely, if Oregon defeats Washington on that neutral field, then you're looking at Washington having beat Oregon at home, Oregon beating Washington on a neutral field. But I don't see how you can take 2 Pac-12 teams. I just don't see how, because they don't really play the defense, and the strength of schedule is nowhere near what you see for Georgia or Alabama or even Michigan. For that, people have kind of bashed Michigan and bashed Ohio State, but Penn State, I know you can speak. Happy Valley is no easy place to win. That's not an easy place to win. So you can't hold that against them. You go and you look at the way Michigan struggled against Maryland without Coach Harbaugh. And that's the one thing that I want to see if the committee is going to hold against Michigan, knowing that Harbaugh can return from his suspension in the bowl, but not against Ohio State, their biggest rival. So, that game right there, depending on scores, I think that the human element comes into what is the score. How bad did you lose? If you lose close, then I don't think you can drop multiple spots. If you get blown out, then I think that's when you're going to have an opportunity to start seeing a lot of slippage there in the top 6.
So how bad do we need to beat Auburn this week for make this statement? Is this just cover? Is this just the 14 points, or is this got to be a route? Or what?
You definitely need to handle Auburn the way that Alabama has in the past. And what do I mean by in the past? I mean, when you start looking at scores, I said 30 will definitely get a win for Alabama versus Auburn. But if you can win 42-14, you can win that 49 to 17 range, to where you are showing that you are clearly superior to Auburn. And you win with Milroe continuing to be balanced and Milroe trust, being able to throw the ball and not having to worry about a kick six or field goal, or Will Reichert leading the nation in scoring through field goals, or becoming NCAA's all-time lead scorer through field goals. You need to put a whooping on Auburn and send the message that, yes, we have dominated every SEC opponent that you put in front of us, and we're ready to take on the Georgia Bulldogs in the SEC championship game.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. I'm on that. I think that we're kind of primed and ready for that. And like I said, we could beat this whole thing down a little bit. The main thing is we just would have beat Texas back in the day. It would be a whole different story right now. I don't know, maybe not, because there would be 6 teams instead of 5. I think Louisville probably ends up taking out Florida State if they don't lose this week. So I think we have a good chance. It just worries me that what that committee thinks about it. There was a great comment here that I like what someone said, bring Condi Rice and the crew need to come back to the committee. They were, it was kind of original deal, but can y'all imagine how this is going to be with 12 teams? I mean, you would hope there's going to be clearer, but how many 10 and the ones are we going to have? Now we're going to be looking at not so much about Alabama and some of the SEC schools, but 12, 13, 14, 15, those other ones that are on the fringe with maybe 2 losses. And are we running into problems with that with these new pods that we're going to have? Are we more likely to lose 2 games instead of 1? I don't know, man. It's scary. Okay, but so let's talk about this. I want to get your opinion on what do you think about the Auburn game and this defense, man. Are we up to this challenge to go into Jordan Hare, and what do we need to do to win this game?
Well, what you want to do for Alabama fans is you want to make Auburn fans sit on their hands early. You don't want them to get any type of electric atmosphere outside of the Eagle landing and kickoff. That's the only excitement you want to give Auburn fans, because the longer you let them stay in the game, I remember a couple of years ago being on the sidelines there, and that place was electric, leading on that 97-yard drive by Bryce Young in Jordan Hare, a couple of 4th downs. It was the loudest I've ever heard any stadium, including Bryant-Denny. I mean, it just that type of environment you don't want Alabama to have to be in the 4th quarter. So that's what you have to do first and foremost. Take the crowd out of it early, make them sit on their hands, make people want to go get a ham sandwich and not come back and sit in front of their TV to see the rest of it if you're an Auburn fan. You just want them to be over at halftime, be like, there's no way we're coming back. I know we've seen some spectacular finishes in this, but I don't want to sit and watch my team get embarrassed 2 weeks in a row if you're an Auburn fan saying that. If you're an Alabama fan, you want to make sure you take care of the football. Turnovers are going to be a huge part of what this game is going to be a part of. And flipping the field is going to be a huge part of it. We saw a few years ago, you remember the 2 awkward plays when we're getting ready to put Mac Jones we're on the verge of punching it in, and all of a sudden you have a pick six that goes 99 yards. And it's quickly a 14-point swing. That can't happen. You have to get in and punch it in and punch Auburn in the mouth with touchdowns and not field goals. And if you're valuing the football, Jalen Milroe, he's going to be able to dissect this Auburn defense because, again, an athletic quarterback, the defense you mentioned has been playing spectacular. Deontay Lawson from right here in our home backyard in Mobile has been that alpha dog on defense. You can respect the secondary, the play of the secondary that's continued to get better as the year's gone on. And that's what I love, too, the improvement not only of the D-line, but also of the O-line. So in the trenches, just dominate your opponent at the point of attack and let Milroe do what he's been doing the last 8 or 9 weeks.
Yeah, so momentum, I'm here you're saying, and happy Thanksgiving Craig, we appreciate you for being in. You are a Teakster, just as is John and Kelly and the rest of you guys. I do thank you guys for the support that you continue to give Teague's Take. And the support that you actually give Corey Labonte. Make sure that you guys, if you're not in this area, you can't get the radio piece, you need to get the app, right? It's on WNSP. I think it's WNSP.com, right? Find the Final Drive. I'm only on for about 30 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes on Wednesdays between 4 and 6, but he's on for some hours. Are y'all on from 3 to 6?
Yeah, 3 to 6 Central. That's right.
Yeah, so you guys make sure you do that. You can also find him on Twitter and IG. It's CALABOUNTY, right? So give him a follow as well with that. So let's talk about. I know we're kind of at the end of your time here, but I wanted to ask you. I wanted to get your opinion about, just because of the progressions that we have made between Reese and Kevin Steele. Who gets the credit for the progression of Jalen Milroe and for the progression of our defense? I know it's so easy to go straight to the head coaches, but do you think these guys got anything to do with this part of the development of our key players?
Absolutely. And you're right about you having to go to the head coach, but because the head coach put him on the bench for the South Florida game. And that was huge in his personal development. And the only person that could have made that decision was Coach Nick Saban, the GOAT. And as far as Tommy Reese and Jalen Milroe, I was talking to Scott Hunter because he's on our show on Tuesdays. And the former quarterback at Alabama says, listen, Tommy Reese has done a great job gaining and playing to Jalen Milroe's strengths and changing his own game plan to Jalen Milroe's strengths. And that trust factor after the South Florida game, whatever was said between everyone in that room, Coach Saban, Milroe, and Reese, the camaraderie that they have being on that same sheet of music now, because it has been harmonious to see them be on the same sheet, play to your strengths. Milroe, no, look, if I need to run it, I can run it. If I don't have to, I'm going to go through my progressions and I can still take off and run and get bunches. So, yes, it is Tommy Reese that is trusting Milroe, Milroe trusting Reese, and, of course, Coach Saban giving him an opportunity to go ahead and he's bought the team. He's earned the trust of the team. So once you bought into that team bought into you as well, and Milroe trust as fans and as coaches, you're only going to go as far as he's allowing you to take us.
Yes. Okay. So do you think how do you think about our secondary now? And I try not to be biased with it, but I feel like our secondary might be one of the, as a complete unit, might be one of the best in the country. We only just talk about Kool-Aid a little bit and others, but now you're talking about Terrion Arnold and Caleb Downs and Kool-Aid and Malachi, and there's always an and. Am I pie in the sky here thinking we're that great in the secondary, or what do you think?
So, you're exactly right. I think Malachi Moore, through injuries and through his development as a true freshman, when he came in as a true freshman and contributed to that national championship team, you see him being a leader on that defense, whether he's been on the field or off the field, whether it's been with injuries or someone else taking a spot from him. But he's earned his playing time back on the field. Malachi Moore is definitely going to find his way into the NFL. You look at Caleb Downs, very rarely do you see a true freshman come in and be as effective as he's been. A true freshman in the secondary, learning from Terrion Arnold, learning from Kool-Aid McKinstry, learning from Deontay Lawson, and trusting the system that's in place by the coaches in the secondary. I love the fact that all four of those guys that you mentioned, Caleb Downs here in 2 more years, he stays healthy. He's a surefire top 10 pick, maybe in a top 5 pick if he continues to play at the elite level that he's played as true freshman. You look at Malachi Moore, he's definitely going to hear his name called on draft day. Terrion Arnold has continued to improve also, and he's a guy that I think can come back in 1 more year, and his draft stock is going to go through the roof. And of course, Kool-Aid McKinstry is already a first-round draft pick, and he continues to shut down an entire side of the field because we haven't called his name all this year. Why? Because people aren't throwing on him consistently enough. And when they do, there's a PBU or you haven't thrown at him for him to get the INTs. And you just want to him. That's why you see him on kick returns so much or punt returns to get him in a flow, to get him involved in the game because all he's doing is locking down your best wide receiver the entire game. And the secondary is tremendous and the O-line has improved. So, yes, there's been improvement across the board.
All right. So, and you hit on that just because you got some chatter going on about the offensive line and the improvement that you made. Have you seen, seemed like Proctor, our left tackle, has made some tremendous strides as a freshman there to really help that backside. What do you think? Has he improved a little bit, a lot, or what are you saying?
As a unit, yes, I do believe as a unit they have definitely improved. And what you also are seeing there for a couple of weeks, we couldn't take a snap from center without there being a fumble or a low snap or a high snap. And that was messing up the timing and the rhythm of the offense for Milroe to have to rush. But now you're starting to see a lot of clean snaps. The quarterback-center exchange is overlooked. And it's been a huge factor of the success of this offensive line. But the offensive line has continued to improve week by week. And you look at finally a game where they give up 0 sacks. And you see the results against Kentucky when you give up 0 sacks. You see the results last week against Tennessee Chattanooga to where they're continuing to improve. And Proctor especially, another true freshman, 17, 18 years old, playing with other grown men that are 21, 22 years old. That experience has started to come into play for him, and he's starting to trust his assignments, and his confidence is beginning to gain itself too. But just remember, he's 18 years old. And I'm not going to call him a baby, but he's a baby from an offensive lineman standpoint. And, he's progressed. Everybody pointed the finger, but he's continued to believe and grind, and that offensive line has continued to improve.
I think you just created a new nickname for Proctor. We won't call him baby. We're just going to call him Big Baby. He's a big baby out there in the left corner, man, because you know what that means. When Big Baby walk into the house, dog, Big Baby walk in, there's about to be some trouble. It's like Big Mama, all that. Anything with big in the front, that's a problem, dog. He's going to be a force to be reckoned with. I know I was hard on him in the beginning just because it seemed like he was just getting beat. They weren't trying to help him, but they just threw him in the fire, man. Now you see him progressing a lot with that. So, hey, can you give us one thing that you're thankful for, brother, before I let you get out of here?
Absolutely, man. More than one. You write a list of daily affirmations. I'm thankful first and foremost for my family that has supported me and continue to allow me to do great things and aspire to do great things. So I'm very thankful for my family. I'm thankful for my health. I'm thankful for my friendships that I've been able to continue to cultivate with yourself and many others on this great media path that I'm on right now. And again, I'm just thankful that I know the Lord, and I'm thankful that I'm able to say happy Thanksgiving, not only to you, but to everyone else, and hope everybody does have a tremendous and happy Thanksgiving. And I'm thankful for all the Alabama fans who are so passionate, not only about your show, not only about the Crimson Tide, but about the Crimson Tide athletic program, and just to be able to be a part of the Script A and to be on your show and to have you on my show, man, I'm thankful for that as well.
Well, I appreciate it very much. I do appreciate you. I'm thankful for you, and you hit it. Family is super important. I hope that people have a great time with their family over these next few days. I see Jada Teague, my daughter, has popped into the chat a little bit, and it's a little weird because she's right on the other side of this wall over here. But it's kind of cool to have the people come in. So I'm very thankful for family and the support that I get, from my wife, from my brothers, from my parents, the in-laws, just everybody, man. It's just the love from the fans. Bama Nation, you rock. You absolutely rock. And I love being at every event that I can be, all the games and stuff, and just the love and support that people give me that don't even know me, just because I was part of, the Alabama tradition and being that. And I love just saying "Roll Tide" all the time, So I think it's pretty awesome. I don't get to say enough thank yous to my coaches that helped raise me, all the way through, even up through the pros. Coach Mike Zimmer, Clancy Pendergast, I'm saying thank you to them too. The people that give me the opportunity to work at JP2, man, I got a call. I got hired at JP2 at a Dairy Queen. A lot of people don't even know this, man. This nice big old deal. The AD, I was at another spot and we were kind of, how things happen when you're kind of getting on carousel and they're trying to keep it kind of hush hush. And he's like, man, why don't you meet me at the Dairy Queen over here at the little place? And he offered me a job over at Diet Coke
and a blizzard.
Yeah. No, I talked to him about that now. I was like, man, I didn't even get a burger or anything, ice cream or anything. I just got the Diet Coke. But I'm thankful for that opportunity, So I'm thankful for JT too. JT is not on the show tonight. He is traveling with his wife, Emily, spending time with her family on that side. So that's why it's just me. And you know what? I'm thankful because I got the doggone screen to work right. It ain't had no difficulties at all. It happened pre-show. I couldn't figure it out, but I clicked enough buttons till I got it right. So thank you to the Bama Standard one more time. We're not going to do a film session tonight. We're going to cut it short. Like I said, I got family on the other side of the wall. So we're going to eat some more. Right now, I just got the Coke Zero. No, they're not a sponsor. That is not what I'm saying at all. But I'm going to add something to that in a minute because it's about that time of the night. So y'all going to have to get back to us next week. We'll start back with the film sessions after that. I know that you guys love it, or at least I hope you do. We're dropping it all the time. We're going to continue to do that. There's going to be some clips from this Auburn game that I know that we can learn from. And maybe highlight just something good from someone. Don't forget to tune in to WNSP. If you don't have the app, go ahead and download it so you can hear both of us talking on Wednesdays at 4 o'clock Central Time, 105.5 out of Mobile, right? Find the Final Drive. We kick it. We have a good time. We got Nick Wiggins with us. I know he's got a lot of thankful stuff with his new family and things of that nature. So don't forget, go ahead and find Corey LaBounty, C8 LaBounty, okay, on IG and X, and then on WNSP, okay? So, Corey, man, I just want to say thank you for everything that you've done for me personally. Thank you for being a guest on Teague's Take tonight. Thank you all for everybody who's came in. And I'm going to go strangle my daughter because she put Go Steelers in the chat. So
thank you, George. Appreciate it. It's a pleasure.
Okay, man. We'll see you guys later. Have a good one.